How's it going, sir?
It's going well.
Listeners may not recognize the voice on the other end right now.
That's fair.
Unless they've been diving into your new podcast. I'm pleased to be joined by Matt Wensing. Matt is a friend of mine. We've met online over the past, year or so. We met at MicroConf in person. It was fun to hang out. And let's see, I think you were the founding CEO of Stormpulse, and now you're the founder of SimSaaS and co-host of the Out of Beta podcast. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you so much. I have been listening to this podcast since at least last fall. I don't know when you guys officially started, but I became a huge fan shortly thereafter. So this is a little surreal, and it's great to be on here. So thanks again.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for filling in. Ben's on vacation this week, squeezing in, I guess, the last bit of summer vacationing time. So I also wanted to say publicly that I feel like when I was going through kind of the level wind down period, some of our conversations were some of the most helpful, I felt like. You're kind of doing this thing out in public and there's people watching. And I think you had reached out a couple times on Twitter and was like, hey, I just random thought, have you thought about this? Or have you looked at it from this angle? And we jumped on a call a couple times, and I really appreciated that. And it's that kind of stuff that kind of makes doing this podcast worth it, and just being in the community that we have. And so thank you for being such a good member of the community.
Oh, you're very welcome. I was raking leaves in my yard, I think, as I listened to you and Ben talk about your adventures. And I'm like, I would stop every once in a while, kind of stare at the sky and be like, what would I do if I were Derrick right now? And so those just kind of accumulate. And then eventually reach a boiling point where you're like, I got to say something. I never talked to this guy, and I'm going to give him a bunch of unsolicited advice. But I enjoy getting to know you. And I have to say, too, since starting SimSaaS and then joining TinySeed, the community's been very welcoming to me too. So, and you're part of that. So it's weird how the virtual is bringing us together. So
Yeah, I know. And so you just started, it was about a month ago or so, your new podcast Out of Beta, right? With Peter. I'm excited that more of these are cropping up, because this is kind of one of my favorite ways to keep up with my friends online, is listening to their podcasts, which is kind of this feels like a weird, modern, even an extension beyond social media where people don't necessarily talk as much because they just watch each other's feeds. But I don't know, I feel like there's something healthier about consuming each other's podcasts in a way.
Yeah. Among the same audience that, I don't know about you, but I hate listening to voicemail, but for some reason I'll listen to a 40-minute podcast. But I think you and Ben essentially issued a call for podcasts that people are responding to subconsciously or consciously. And I know I asked Peter Soom, my co-host on Out of Beta, who's a TinySeed cohort founder, I said, you want to start a podcast? And part of the reason we kind of hit it off right away and realized maybe we should do one together is I was like, well, what do you listen to? And it was the same list of 3. And we're like, okay, well, let's do something in that vein. And
yeah,
so far so good.
That's pretty cool. So have you been enjoying it? Has it been weird, getting in the groove of being public about stuff, or how's that been?
Yeah, it has. I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, and I also tend to share my thoughts publicly a lot anyway. All that to say, I tend to be a fairly transparent person naturally. The thing about the podcast is I've had some false starts before with friends thinking we were going to do the podcast thing. I think we found a groove, and if you notice, part of knowing that it was going to be a good match was we were picking the intro and outro music. Yep. We were browsing these sites at the same time, slacking back and forth, and we were both kind of drawn to this really chill tune, and I was like, yeah, I think we're gonna have a chill brand going. It's kind of the antidote to some of the stress that we experience as founders. So we're tending to gel pretty well. It's amazing how easy it is these days to get this stuff out there, as long as you're willing to just talk on mic.
This podcast doesn't take a ton of preparation, which is kind of nice. And I don't know, blogging, I've done that in stints throughout the years, and I don't know, something about that just feels like you got to put more time and energy and editing into it, and it's harder to just be raw. So it's good. I feel like it's a great medium.
Yeah, for sure.
What have you been up to? Last time we talked, I think you were working through some technical things, getting back into coding, and I've heard you talking on your podcast now lately about some technical mentorship stuff that you've been seeking out. So how's that been going?
I've definitely found momentum. The engine was there. It was just kind of parked for a very long time as I was like founding CEO of my last company and essentially got dragged into enterprise sales and marketing and really coded maybe once a year for the last 5 years. So it was a very rusty engine, but I mean, I was a professional developer at a company. It was my full-time job right out of college. So that is my background, but it was really rusty. And I think I finally gotten to the point where I have days like today, actually, where I look at what I did and I'm kind of proud of it. It's like, okay, I didn't just manage to get the results on the screen that I was hoping for. I actually made the system better, and that feels really good. And I think to the mentorship side, part of TinySeed is they are proactive about asking you what you need help with. And I feel like with SimSaaS, it's kind of unique to it because the market is early stage companies and startups. The marketing part, of course, everybody needs more distribution, but I was like, what I really need help with is the technical side. And I think once I admitted that, and it's hard to admit that in some sense because it makes you sound like, oh, you're not a developer, you don't really know what you're doing, you're not technical, whatever that means. It's like, no, I am, but like I want to get better. I want to sharpen the saw. And I think once I did that, our conversation really helped me go down the path of like, wow, in 60 minutes with Derrick, I like made things less daunting. I've basically, since we talked, I've gone down that path of saying, I don't need a full-time developer yet. In fact, I don't really want one because I'm making so many key decisions in the architecture of like the data model more, not necessarily performance, but like what's related to what and like what are the primitives of the system. Like those things to me are very product oriented. So I like doing those myself. I started peeling away the onion on the idea of maybe these 1 hour concentrated bursts of mentorship where we just dive into a subject. Maybe that's all I need. And a friend of mine who we actually were high school friends, graduated, went to different colleges, have stayed friends. We were in each other's weddings, so really close. He ended up becoming a CTO at a startup in the Valley that raised a bunch of money and did well. And so he moved on to another startup and he has all this experience and he surpassed me in terms of what the latest and greatest is in terms of dev practice and everything else. So I reached out to him and said, could you help me? And it was like, probably an hour a week. So I was like, okay, got to work with what I got. What can I do? And I've just been basically choosing a topic. And I'm like, this week we're going to talk about the Django REST framework. And you're going to force me to stare at the documentation and realize that there's no shortcut around this or, unit tests, whatever it is. It's all the stuff that otherwise to switch into that context is just such a mental lift. Like, you understand, like going from feature work on something really cool to like, oh, I need to create a staging environment. It's like, sure, they're both technical, but like try getting excited about that or switching modes like in the middle of a day. It's just really hard. So I feel like it's been going well because of that. And I hope others can use that technique. Maybe it's something I'll have to blog about at some point.
It's so cool because I've heard you talk about this now. I've heard, Brian Castle kind of talk about how he's kind of seeking out like whether it's buying slices of time from people through different sites and stuff that offer, just development help or seeking out mentors and stuff like that. And I feel like it's something that I haven't really done in small chunks, I guess. Like I've had obviously mentors over the years and people that, I kind of get to know through the industry and stuff like that. But like seeking out just-in-time help is probably something that I feel like I could get better at like honing that skill. And it's cool to see like people giving an example of different ways to kind of approach that.
Yeah, I think it's basically the gym metaphor. It's like, or hiring a personal trainer. It's like all the equipment's sitting there, but like having that person show up either at your house or the gym at a certain time, and they're ready to go. That changes. So I've actually extended that to someone on the marketing side. And then also I had my first of probably 4 meetings with Rob Walling today just to talk about pricing and packaging. And that's like another area where I want to launch a self-service. I want to go freemium. Sure, I can get my head into that space if I stare at like my docs for an hour and try not to like browse Twitter. But sitting down with Rob and having the headset on and saying like, let's talk about pricing. I probably made a week's worth of progress today in that hour, and it feels good. So
it's so easy to just find yourself spinning your wheels. I mean, it happens to me all the time, and you're just kind of mentally thrashing on something, or it's like, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to approach my thinking on this or how to like sharpen it. And in the programming realm, a lot of people do pair programming just to prevent that kind of thing from happening. Just having another person there keeps you sharp, I guess, keeps you on topic. And yeah, like a lot of times you can plow through a lot of work in a short amount of time if you have that focus.
Absolutely. Yes, that's kind of how it's been going.
So have you been mostly focused on product then, or switching over to marketing efforts, or what is your recent kind of?
I have marketing right now on just an organic cruise control, if you will, of the request access button's there. It puts them in a ConvertKit. It sends them a survey, a Google form that says, hey, if you're really anxious or if you're really motivated, fill this out. I think I'll hit 40 this week on those, which feels really good. Like people went through that many gates to say, I want access to this thing. So that's kind of quietly running. I've had some really serendipitous Twitter interactions lately where somebody will say something very relevant to SimSaaS, and I've been able to, without hijacking the thread, just say something and not even link to SimSaaS, just say like, oh yeah, I think about it this way. And I think that's driven some more, kind of boosted my just visibility. But so that's where marketing's at. So I've really spent most of my time on sales. In the afternoon, I'll have maybe 2 calls a week with a new prospect or somebody that's on that list and is very motivated. And then the rest of the time in product. So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, essentially start coding at 5:30. And now the kids are in school, I get disrupted a little bit, but basically code from 5:30 to 11 a.m. each day. And then like 11 a.m. Central, it's like the middle of the day for most people. For me, it's like, okay, I could probably do a demo, a sales call or something, and then call it a day. And that's kind of the groove I've been in. It's been going well. I think company progress wise, I'm at that first 10, the quote unquote Jason Cohen first 10 customers stage. I only have 4, but I don't think that really matters. It's more about the principle of like, okay, this constellation represents a significant surface area of customers. And like, if these 4 are happy, these personas, like there's a lot more where they came from. Those are the 4. So I have 2 investors, 2 founders using it and paying for it currently. I might add 1 or 2 more before October. I think the focus is really on getting the product fully ready and going live with the launching, which is, what is launching?
Right. What is launching? Yeah.
So
do you think you will do a big launch? This has been kind of talked about, I feel like, in the circles lately. It's like, do you stay in invite only? Do you do the big splash launch? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I changed the call to action on the site to, open a free account or get started for free. I got to pick one. One of those, get started for free, or if they're an investor, kind of open your free investor account and let the freemium begin. I think I just do that one day. I think I just push it live and send out a message and say, this is out there. The fanfare, if there is any, is going to be kind of non-salesy appearances that I'm going to be doing. So I'm speaking at Business of Software in September, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to give a full-length talk on predictions and predicting growth. So SimSaaS will be a footnote or like mention at the end is like, this is the tool I've been working on to predict this stuff. So obviously that should generate some interest. And then it's official. I bought plane tickets to Croatia. So I'm going to MicroConf Europe in October. And I hope to meet some of you listeners there. And I'll definitely be passing out business cards at both. And we'll just see how the freemium train gets going. I mean, I hope that snowball starts building.
You're a member of the TinySeed cohort. I'm curious to hear from your inside perspective, like how has that experience been? I mean, I take it that you don't regret joining the cohort, but what have been the big benefits of doing that? Big
benefit specific to me, because it's easiest off the cuff, is I'm a company of one. And I know that phrase, thanks to your podcast, as in Paul Jarvis talk, I know that's not, doesn't mean you have to be a one person company, but I actually am. And maybe sometimes to the chagrin of those who are in Slack who are like, doesn't this guy work on stuff? Like I am constantly in there sharing wins, and we have a fail whale channel, which I think is brilliant. That was a Brian Marble idea, and yes, sharing dumb things and victories, and then just conversations. Like that is essentially my virtual office space. And so that's no small benefit. And there's just a ton of other benefits in terms of the community. And like, I didn't get to go to the retreat, the TinySeed retreat this summer. Was able to make it due to family commitments, but there will be one in Croatia around the time of MicroConf. And so can't wait to go hang out. And just, leaving my last business, I kind of lost those day-to-day friends in terms of the forced interactions. So I think I'd be a lot lonelier if it weren't for that. I think the community is like, to put one flag down, the community is a huge part of it. For me, especially. I mean, if I were a company of maybe 3 or 4 people, and some of the TinySeed founders do have businesses that have team members, it's not just a bunch of, 1 or 2 person teams, might be less important. And I think those people are naturally a little less active because they're like, I got a company Slack going that I'm active in, and this is ancillary. But for me, that's big. And I think it's just the beginning. There's a lot of mentors as well, including yourself, that add to that. And it's great, like being able to talk to Rob for an hour today and having him proactively offer, like, hey, if anybody needs to talk through stuff, like, I'm available. Here's my Calendly. I needed that. Even though I have some experience, I can't do this totally alone. So it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, some people, who are working solo, they do things like join a co-working space or something like that. And I feel like this is like virtual co-working space on steroids, because you've got basically a bunch of people solving similarly hard challenges, dealing with the same stresses, and can swap notes and war stories and successes and fails, and the dynamics that I see going on in the TinySeed Slack is pretty cool. I think it's pretty special.
It is, and kudos to Tracy Osborne for facilitating all of that. That's a smart move by Robin Einer to have her on board, but just the constant daily facilitation of it's great. So that's a huge part of it. I mean, the other aspects are, look, this is even more personal to Matt, but it's like, look, somebody was willing to invest in a pre-revenue prototype that I built. That's special. And when somebody has that much faith in you, you probably take it. So I don't regret that either.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I've been better, actually. Like, I'm on the upswing, but the last couple of weeks have been pretty challenging for me. And I don't think I mentioned it on the last podcast, actually. I was just trying to look through my notes from last week to see if I even mentioned it. But I think for me, my big challenge right now is managing stress, which is, I think, always something that founders always have to deal with, right? But particularly in my phase right now, where I feel like there's so many unknowns in my journey, and where am I devoting most of my time, and am I on the right path, and is this going to work out? And coming off an experience like Level, feeling a little impatient. So I'm feeling like anything I do is taking longer than I'd want, or is not moving fast enough and not giving me enough validation that I'm still moving in the right direction. So I think all of those things kind of contributing to a lot of stress. And one of the things that I kind of suffer from time to time is this type of headache called cluster headaches. And it's different than a migraine, and they come on seasonally, and they can be triggered by stress. So it's been a couple of years since I've had them, but when I get them, they knock me down.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. So that's been, the last couple of weeks, often waking up in the middle of the night with a very painful headache, or in the morning. And it's that kind of thing that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at a certain point, because you start to get the headaches and you start to get stressed that the headaches are there and they're cannibalizing productivity. And so
this is something that if I were still raking leaves and listening, I would I don't want to ask you. So while I have the chance, it's like you went from, it's still Level Technologies, according to the footer, which I thought was a great, for those that have been following, it was a nice little reward at the end, but or the page. But from Level to StaticKit, both have tasteful design and presentation, thoughtfulness. It's all there. But I think there's a refinement, which was you have this is what I'm looking for in a business now, in order for it to be the right business for me to start. And StaticKit checks those boxes in ways that Level, it couldn't. Do you still have a master plan that gets you excited and you're like, okay, this is just the first stone in the cathedral? Or do you almost feel sometimes a little not really sure if this bridge is headed somewhere? Mm-hmm. Does that cross your mind?
I think there's a certain tipping point of confidence that I want to have that I'm close on, but I feel like I'm still lacking a bit of information just because of the approach I took with StaticKit, where it's there's a market for sure, and there's a need that I'm filling that there's evidence of other competitors doing this, and there's there are a movement of people moving towards this particular type of technology to build websites, and there are gaps. And so like the fundamentals there are sound, but then there's all the next tier questions that are like, well, how accessible is this market and how willing to pay are they? And can I expand to the point where this becomes valuable enough where it becomes a compelling business? And so you can't get 100% confidence on right away. You have to, and the approach I've taken is the quick MVP first, so build the kernel of the product and then basically ship it and start to put it in front of different audiences that would find it useful. And so,
yeah, I mean, one of the requirements that was in your I want to call it manifesto, but it was the one about what kind of business I want, is it needs to be an existing product category.
Yeah.
Do you feel like StaticKit, not in its current incarnation necessarily, that might be like 1/10 of it or something, but in terms of validation, is there a clear, like, this will grow up into this species of thing, and that's in a category, and that alone kind of lets you go, well, clearly people are willing to pay for that, like they would pay for the full-grown version of this, right?
Yes. I mean, it's basically kind of I've heard of the term like JAMStack, which is like I think Netlify coined it, and it's like JavaScript APIs and Markup, right? Which is kind of describes the way of building websites statically, right? And there's the A side of that, which is just kind of the ecosystem of third-party providers that fill in various gaps that people need when they're using this type of technology stack. So you're statically compiling your website, but you need things like forms and search and analytics and file hosting and identity management and on and on and on, right? And so, yeah, I think it's like what I have to do is trust the fact that there is an ecosystem there. There are opportunities to take. It's just a matter of patiently working the process to maneuver my way through and figure out where's the opportunity for someone like me to come in and provide a better experience.
Right. It's kind of, in my mind, rough cut. It's like a bit of a fragmentation problem of, yes, there's this ecosystem there, but that doesn't mean that there's like a clear entry point for this thing that will exist to like have, here's the first product in our lineup, here's the second, here's the third, and like clearly redistribute the same thing to those same people repeatedly. It's like, what if you're fighting, it's really more the land war in Asia problem of like, yeah, could I find a partner or something where I could inject all of these products and build a more interesting business without having to have 6 channels or something like that? That makes sense. Interesting. From the channel perspective, I'm curious, like, what are you, obviously you have the site and you have your reputation. Like, what else are you experimenting with, if I can ask, to get this out there?
I think the big thing is going to be looking for good partnerships with particularly hosting companies that are kind of focusing on these areas. And that's kind of been my focus the last week or so, has been building those connections, and that things are off to a good start. I'm already starting to have some really fruitful conversations to kind of learn from these hosting providers, like, what do your customers need? What are the gaps that they're trying to fill in? That has been encouraging. Like, the response has been very positive. Yeah, in general, like these companies are very willing to kind of help out, which has been really nice. I think it's like kind of rising tides. Like, building up the ecosystem is only to the benefit of their customers, and will only make their platform, more valuable if they can say, like, well, you can bundle our hosting platform with this additional complementary third-party service to kind of make your whole end-to-end experience even better, right? I think it's going to be a huge piece, because people go to these platforms for hosting, but then, sometimes you're left with like, well, shoot, I got to do this dynamic thing that static hosting doesn't provide out of the box. Where do I turn?
What do you think your constraint is then that's kind of causing the stress? Is it time? Is it actually validation and knowledge? Do you know?
It's hard to pinpoint. It's probably more my internal dialogue than anything else. Like, it's more of a just, I think, coming off of a rough experience and now trying to mentally reset. It's a lot of that kind of thing going on, which is tough.
It's related in time to, StaticKit, but it's not actually super related to the business. It's not tightly related to the business in terms of its value, its merit, its promise to you. It's really more of Yeah, that just that just takes time, doesn't it? Like obviously processing, you can't just have idle time, but like that's what I found going through those kinds of experiences, which is not great. Is that consolation? I don't know.
I mean, it certainly is. It's good to know that like I'm not the only one,
Oh yeah. No, I mean, last 2 years of my story have basically been, and I wrote a blog post about leaving my own company and like what that transition was like. But like I write the blog post after the fact, and it's downright nostalgic. But it doesn't mean like going through it. It was like sunsets and calm winds and everything. It's just mentally and emotionally hard, and you question like what you're good at and where you're going to go next and all that stuff. And the year before that, not to make this too personal, but like my dad passed away, and like I literally had like that, and then 12 months later, kind of maybe I should no longer be operational in my own business, kind of that, whatever you want to call it, that trough. I think it took me a good 6 to 12 months before like I feel like I'm back on top of the horse and riding it correctly and everything. Like I think it's just as much that performance-wise as it's like knowledge, So yeah, you're not the only one.
Yeah, sure. I know. And it's like, I don't know. It's easy to really get in your head too, and you're thinking really hard about evaluating markets, evaluating ideas, and merging all of that with your ideal scenario. I mean, it is tricky. It can be frustrating sometimes to hear the advice and internalize it and know that like you got to find a hungry market for something. But at the same time, I mean, that is by definition extremely elusive because markets are always ripe to be served. And so it's like finding a hungry market, but then also finding the right slot, the right take you can have on a particular problem, to really make inroads.
Absolutely. And the people that own those markets have, they tend to like close up all the holes and like, whether you want to call moats or whatever it is, it's like, yeah, that's a weakness of ours. But if you focus on that, I mean, not to rehash it, but that's kind of the notification fatigue, FOMO thing of Slack. It's like, yeah, that's a sucky part of the product, but you can't build a business fixing that. But it seems like what you're doing now is so clean. I think that's the word that comes to mind, that hopefully that comes with clarity too. I know Peter Soom actually, for what it's worth, he's doing CI/CD for WordPress with Branch and is talking to hosting companies. And I think it's been pretty productive for him, as far as they seem very excited and willing to add value to their clients, where sometimes you get to these middlemen and they're like not invented here syndrome and all kinds of stuff where they don't want to even give you that opportunity.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've been definitely vibing with some of his commentary on that lately, because I feel like a lot of these hosting companies, in particular, the modern ones, they're trying to basically build a platform, right? They want people to be using them as the base, and then take it that a lot of them are kind of looking at sort of the Heroku model of like, have an add-on ecosystem, have make it as plug and play as possible for their, ideally run one command in the terminal and you can instantly have like a running thing on the platform.
Yeah.
And so
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm here in Austin, so I remember WP Engine going through something like that metamorphosis where it was like, was it security, speed, and stability was like it's 3 S's or whatever. So just host your WordPress with us. And then after they raise their Series B, or by the time they raise their Series B, and the Internet Wayback Machine is really fun for this kind of thing. It's like the WordPress experiential platform or something. It's like, I mean, it kind of has to be, because they've got to like 10x a business that's already huge. So yeah, maybe those are the trade wins you can kind of sail on. I mean, that sounds plausible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So to close the loop on the headaches thing, thankfully, about a week ago, went to the doctor. I've been to the doctor before for these, and generally they tell me like, we don't know much about how to treat headaches. Take ibuprofen if that helps. Like, and thankfully, like my new doctor was like, oh, we actually have this protocol. We can do these 2 different medications, and you can taper off in this way, and this should hopefully be preventive to break the cluster. And then, here's a medication you can take if you get a headache acutely, so it doesn't keep you up for 8 hours.
Oh man!
And I
21st century medicine.
Yeah, right. So I went to the doctor, took the meds that first day, and then haven't had one since. And I don't know. It honestly might be partly just the placebo effect of like having a plan. And I welcome it. Whatever it is, I don't care. So whether it's the drugs, whether it's just having the plan, just a doctor saying like, yep. She was like, don't mind me if I nerd out on this a little bit, because these cluster headaches are actually kind of fun because they're kind of a puzzle, like figuring out how to properly treat them. And we'll iterate on this if we have to. And
You're welcome.
I was like, you're welcome. That's not exactly the word I would use for these, but
yeah, a little too fascinated.
I'm a nerd in a different way, so I understand what you're getting at. Like,
yeah, you're geeking out on my pain. I got it.
Yep. And so,
that's promising. Then that's good. I hope so. I mean, the nearest thing I have to that is my mother-in-law has terrible migraines, and I know that she kind of has the lay down and don't look at the light solution, and I'm just like, that's bad. So I hope it keeps working. Whether it's sugar or more potent, either way.
Yep.
May it continue to work.
Yeah. So that has thankfully lifted and allowed me to kind of resume my regularly scheduled work and my calls and all that kind of stuff in the last week. And so yeah, now feeling pretty good, like on the other side of that, which is good, and hopefully that'll continue. Good.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, cool, man. We're about at time. Anything else you wanted to plug or to touch on?
I don't think so. I just appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to continue listening to these. And thanks for welcoming me to the community.
Yeah, you bet. So everyone should check out, if you enjoy this podcast, you should check out the Out of Beta podcast. Where can people keep up with you online? You on Twitter? You on Twitter?
Yeah, very active on Twitter at Matt Wensing. And you can also find links to my Medium blog on our website, SimSaaS.co.
Very cool. Well, thanks for being here, Matt.
Thanks again, Derrick.
So yeah, and show notes for this podcast can be found at artofproductpodcast.com. See you next time.